hearing those stories because more and more people at this time in history, Lisa, are waking up to their own true potential. That the moment we resign to certain concepts, certain principles that fall within the quote of normal, then we're subject to really the effects of normal. And when we don't accept, believe, and surrender to a diagnosis, and we really step outside of convention, the definition of a miracle is that it's something that happens outside of convention, whether it's religious convention or scientific convention or social convention, something that challenges current beliefs. And if we're able to pull it off, it will be considered a miracle. And I think more and more people are waking up to the idea that with a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of understanding, that they can really turn a battleship around or turn consequences around in their favor, and then they get to experience the truth of all of this information. And once you understand the truth, it means now you're experiencing the effects of the philosophy, and that's when you really begin to embody it.
Yes, I mean, it hasn't even been, I think, we're at 10 weeks now. He went back to work. The only thing he can't do is maybe throw a ball. He still has some hard times of putting his shirt on because of all the, the neurons the nerves are, but he has never wavered, and Gina has not ever wavered in their belief that this wasn't going to be a full miraculous healing. They held that space and never let in those thoughts of what if, even though the doctors and the research and all the statistics completely saying that your husband shouldn't be walking, he's going to suffer this, that, the other thing. I mean, she stayed fierce with her thoughts, and for him as well. Yeah, it's all about that.
And I think, the funny thing about this, or the enlightening thing about it, is that I don't care what religious text that you read, when you understand the principles of a miracle, you're believing in thought. You're believing in a concept or an idea more than you're believing in the conditions in your body or in your external environment. And when you make thought more real than anything else, you hold on to that vision steadfast of anything. And then you begin to emotionally embrace the outcome before it's made manifest. Your body, as the unconscious mind, does not know the difference between the experience that creates the emotion and the emotion that you're creating by thought alone. So your body is actually in that moment living in a new predictable future. And it's that emotional quotient that begins to upregulate genes in new ways. And when genes get turned on, they make new proteins, and the expression of proteins is the expression of life. And so when you have the expression of life, that's called health in your body. So the beautiful thing about Gina's husband is he didn't wait for the healing to occur to give thanks, or wait for his miraculous recovery in order to feel whole. He understood that he had to create that emotion and that thought combined together to move into a new state of being, so that he was teaching his brain and body emotionally what that future event could be like. And it takes the continuous signaling of the gene and the continuous impression into the quantum field that begins over and over again to change the brain and body to move out of the past and to move into the future. And people are doing it all around the world. And I love the stories like this because when people listen to it, they're not going to fall prey to flu shots or certain medications for their conditions just because that's how they've been programmed. They're going to start saying, there's a power within me that if I can contact it, if I can get beyond my body, get beyond the conditions in my environment, get beyond my past and my predictable future, and I can surrender into this place, something miraculous is going to happen. And more people are executing it. And that's what I love about it, because when more and more people execute it well.
Because belief is a big factor here.
Well, it's very interesting because when you step into that unknown, you really have to weigh a new paradigm and a new principle against an old belief. And when you step out into the unknown, you will be considered foolhardy and insane. Everybody around you will think, oh my God, she's off her medication, or something's different about her, or she's losing her mind. But what you're doing is you're not settling for the natural. You're asking for supernatural. Now, this is why I find it so profound. Your willingness to understand that you didn't have to accept believe and surrender to that condition without any analysis to program your autonomic nervous system into a very particular line of time. You didn't accept that. Instead, you said, look, let me apply a principle here. It turns out that 10 minutes of gratitude, just by you creating an elevated emotion, begins to create a very specific immunoglobulin in your immune system called immunoglobulin A.
Okay.
That particular immunoglobulin is the very first signal to make the very first defense against bacteria and viruses in your body. So the moment you start doing that, you're upregulating a whole healthy army of white blood cells to attack any foreign invader in your body. Now, the opposite is also true. When you get frustrated or discouraged or fearful or impatient, you begin to reduce the amount of immunoglobulin A, and your body becomes more susceptible to bacteria and viruses. So you relied on your body's innate mechanisms to raise the temperature, and the reason it raises its temperature is because it's going to elevate temperature to break down the bacteria or virus that can't survive in that heat.
Okay.
And then your body's innate mechanisms take care of it. The immune system does what it does, and you take what normally would take other people a week to get through, you get through in an afternoon because you're not accepting, believing, or surrendering to that particular condition based on your past experience. Now that means then you're outside the box. And that's when you start to feel more empowered about yourself, and you start to realize, God, this was so simple. Because the hardest part of all of this is actually applying it, going, okay, I'm going to try this out. And people have to face their fear of failure, or they're looking crazy, or their own self-doubt. But it's those very things that we
Quantum different reality here. What is it?
Well, I think it's all of those. I mean, when you think greater, what I'm asking people to look at, I mean, a great person in history, whether it was Gandhi or Martin Luther King or Joan of Arc or the Wright brothers, they were thinking greater than the present conditions in their external environment.
Right.
If you look at any person like your Gina's husband who was faced with some tragedy or some crisis, and they had to think greater than their body, they had to think greater than their emotions, and their automatic programs and their habits. And if you really understand that most people wake up every morning and they get out of bed on the same side, and they drink coffee out of the same mug, and they go to drive to work the same way, and they do these same things, they do that for 10 years in a row, their past, we could lift their past up and set it on their future. In other words, their future and their past are exactly the same. They're reliving their same life. So when you find the present moment and your body is no longer on autopilot into the future or emotionally in the past, and you can transcend that linear line of time to be greater, to think greater than time, linear time, is the moment you step out into the quantum field. In other words, in order for you to change something in your external environment, you have to forget about your external environment. In order for you to create some change in your body, you got to get beyond your body.
Right.
If you want to create some new future time that's brand new and novel, you have to get beyond your linear, predictable time. So thinking greater than your body, your environment, and time allows people to begin to understand that they already know how to do this. Everybody has done something great in their life, and when they've made up their mind to do something, and the hair on the back of their neck stood up, and they said, I don't care what's going on in my life. I don't care what people think, environment. I don't care how I feel. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to do this. They're commanding the moment, and by doing that, their body is responding to a new mind. Now that process literally changes our brain and body, because the inner experience in that moment, the choice becomes an experience that the person never forgets, because experience enriches the brain and sends an emotional signal to the body. So when you make that kind of firm intention, that decision, with a high amplitude of energy, your brain and body are getting a taste of the future, and the body is responding to a new mind. And that's exactly what it takes for the mystic to walk across the hot coals, or the mother to lift up the car whose daughter's trapped underneath it. It's not matter that's changing matter in that state. It's energy that is the epiphenomenon of matter. They're more energy and matter in that moment. And when they're that, they're no longer living by...
You just broke that down, I know.
Well, let's say it another way, okay? Let's say it another way.
Thanks.
A habit is when your body is the mind. That's what a habit is. You've done something so many times that your body knows how to do it better than your brain. According to research, that's 95% of who we are, is body-mind consciousness. In other words, the body's running the show. You may think you're making all your decisions with your conscious mind, but your body has been trained subconsciously. As an example, I may say to you, which way do you turn a doorknob? Which way do you turn a doorknob?
To the right.
And most people go like, I don't know, let's see. They kind of do this with their hand, right?
Yeah.
They're not asking their conscious brain to do it. Their body's making the choice. You know,
Right.
you forget your PIN number, and you had a couple glasses of wine. You walk over to the keypad, and you look at the keypad, and your fingers dial the number. That's because you've practiced it so many times. Your body knows better than your conscious mind. Now, 95% of who you are, the way you complain, the way you walk, your posture, what you say, how you do things, that's all on automatic program, right? So now, in order for your body to no longer be the mind, you literally, just like an animal, like if you're training a dog or you're training a horse, you have to come out of your resting state. And when you make that decision, you're gathering all that energy. And when you gather all that energy and you're in the present moment, and the decision becomes a choice that you never forget, that's the moment it's a long-term memory. And your biology, your neurocircuitry, your neurochemistry, even your genetic expression is beginning to change in that instant, because the amplitude of energy is greater than the body as the mind. And that's the moment the body's getting a new emotional signal. Now, the antithesis of that is also true too. Most people are sitting on their couch with their, with their laptop on their lap. They got their smartphone on this side. They got their iPad over here. They got their
TV in front of them.
remote control with their TV, and they go, oh, I think I'm going to change tomorrow. Now, every single cell of your body spying on your brain, it knows whether you're telling the truth or not. It's precognitive. The body's very precognitive. So you make that kind of choice, and you don't come out of your resting state. The body says, oh my God, she's lying again. Don't worry, relax. She's not going to change. Everything's cool. But when you say, this is it,
Yeah.
that's when the body goes, oh my God, she's serious this time. And it's that kind of firm intention that we've measured over and over again. We see that there's biological changes that take place, and the more intense the energy and more focused it is, the more prone the person is to accept, believe, and surrender to the thought